president said the other night, again, we have to shut down Guantanamo, and some Republicans say, well, we can't bring them here because, we don't have any place that can hold them. We have some pretty tough characters in our federal prisons.
We have well over, I think, 300 terrorist-type inmates already in our system.
Yeah.
We've held these people for years. Go back to the 93 World Trade Center bombing. When they were prosecuted in New York, we have those inmates secured. They've been secured since 1993 in a federal prison. So we can handle those inmates. That's not a problem.
Now, you hear about problems, particularly crowding and underfunding with prisons around the country. Is that a problem with the federal prisons as well?
It is. What happened in the early 2000s when the administrations changed from Bill Clinton's administration to the Bush administration, all of a sudden our budget started to shrink. And what happened, we used to be staffed around 96% of funding levels, and now we're around 89% of funding levels. And that's continued over the course of these last couple administrations.
So is it because well, first of all, I guess that means is there overcrowding in terms of too many prisoners in too few facilities?
Absolutely. Our high security prisons, for instance, are 51% overrated capacity. Our medium facilities and lows are around 40 to 45% overrated capacity.
And what kind of problems does that generate or create in a prison?
Well, anytime you take a group of men and put them in a secure facility, close quarters, it develops into problems. And just like here in a city, you have groups develop that all have competing interests inside the facility for recreation space, for education space, and different programs.
Oh, I could see that could create a lot of tension. It's bad enough, Peter and I are both here in the studio. I mean, just this close with this close proximity.
It's a little tight, isn't it?
Yeah. And imagine 24 hours a day, 24/7.
I can tell you that a room this size, we may put 6 inmates in it. As far
Get
as
out of here.
At some of the low security prisons, yes.
Wow.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
And you can just imagine the problems that would create. Right. And in terms of now, for what I'm getting to, in terms of your side of the equation here, the correctional officers, that creates even more problems for you, right?
Yes. You have to monitor the inmates' conduct, and look, we get hit pretty hard with how we handle federal prisons, and we have a lot of outside groups that criticize what we do. But I can tell you that as a union, we have asked for more funding for building so that we don't have the crowding. We've asked for we've supported a bill S-1410 with Senator Durbin, Senator Leahy, and Senator Lee out of Utah, actually, who have co-sponsored a bill called the Smart Sentencing Act to try to lower crowding. And some of these other initiatives that the Attorney General has put forward to try to limit how they prosecute, those kind of things. We have supported all of that.
Well, as the prison population has grown, has the number of correctional officers grown?
No. As a percentage, no. That's where we've lost over the years. Instead of keeping pace, we've been outmatched, basically.
And what does that mean in terms of your workload, number one, and your safety, number two?
Well, we've seen increases in assault rates. We had an officer murdered last year in Canaan, Pennsylvania. Eric Williams was murdered by an inmate alone in a housing unit. He was working with 130 high-security inmates by himself on an evening shift. And he was...
So one person responsible for 130 inmates?
Yes. And actually, at some facilities, that's worse. That's not beyond the scope. We've had that for many years.
That's a lot of responsibility.
It is.
I mean, you're not talking third graders, or I mean, you're talking
right. I was going to get at that.
Grown men, each of whom are there for a reason, and some of them are there because they've been involved in violent crimes.
Yes, the high security facilities in particular, those inmates have been normally they're career offenders. They've been in the system for a long time, or they're coming into the system after committing crimes that are pretty violent, and they end up in those situations. And then, again, the facilities break up into gang activity and different things, and you have to deal with that every day.
I'm fascinated by the you know, when we talk to a lot of people who represent kids and work with children or work with their fellow workers and things like that, but these are, like you said, criminals, and they don't necessarily get a lot of sympathy from people. So it's a really kind of sticky dynamic, I think.
It's difficult, and trying to cut through the noise is difficult. Right. Because what happens with us is we're depicted as a bunch of, thugs, guerrillas, basically coming out here beating inmates. I mean, we get this a lot. I'm not, we really are trying to control the situation with the number of inmates that we have, the facilities. We have over 40 facilities that are over 50 years of age. And so we have places that are falling down around us as we try to maintain it. And then Congress gives us a budget of $90 million a year to do maintenance and repair, which is impossible. I mean, you could take that and spend it on 2 or 3 prisons. Let's say Lewisburg, for instance, in the middle of Pennsylvania, which is an old facility.
Yeah, yeah.
So we're always under the gun on these kind of things.
And are you armed?
No. We carry no firearms inside the facilities. And we do have some perimeter patrol and some towers. But other than that, inside the facilities, we don't. We have initiated a pepper spray. It would be surprising to you that the mall cops have pepper spray and officers inside a federal prison don't. So we are just now starting to get that inside some federal prisons.
Do you have, like, I don't want any state secrets here, but batons? I mean, do you have any?
No. Essentially, we carry a radio, we carry a body alarm, and we carry keys. And our main objective is to communicate with the inmates to make sure we don't have problems. That's our first line is to try to communicate and not have issues. If we have an incident that occurs in a unit, we're supposed to hit our alarms and have as many staff come to respond as you can. And then we deal with the situation.
I imagine that anything like a baton or anything like that would escalate a situation very quickly if it got in the wrong hands.
Well, you say that, but they have broom handles, they have mop handles, they have chairs, they have everything at their disposal to injure you as an officer that they require. The officer, for instance, that was murdered last year, he was stabbed over 100 times with homemade weapons, homemade shanks. And they were fashioned out of different pieces of material from the prison. So for us, we would rather have the risk of having something on us that we can get to than to depend on our folks showing up at the right time to help you, because that's a problem.
Yeah.
Why would you take this job?
Well, that's a good question. That's a darn good question.
Think about that one for a second.
You know what? Maybe I should think about it.
I'm feeling scared just sitting here.
No, I think. It's
like a Scared Straight episode.
I guess in my own situation, which is all I could speak about, is I came out of the military. I left the 82nd Airborne Division in 1990. I came home. My wife wanted to come home and not travel around the military. And as I looked for work, I had been an MP, and I ended up in law enforcement in the prison system. So it fit what I had done before.